takes a second for it to hit record. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this out.
Cool. That's awesome.
All right. I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, I think I'm ready. Welcome. We're introducing tonight a little video, a little podcast talking about our ministry and the ministry of, basically it's called Life Ministries. And just to introduce ourselves, my name is Pastor Bates, and I am the pastor of the food ministry. And we're located here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, actually in Red Bank, Tennessee, and we are just expanding to other cities and counties, them taking on their own entities, becoming their own ministers of food and getting food out to people. I'd like to introduce you to Daniel Lambert. Daniel is it's Pastor Daniel, right?
It's Daniel, pastor of education.
Pastor of education. So we're defining how we're speaking with each other, with people in their own ministries and that kind of thing. And so I think what we're doing tonight is we just kind of want to introduce what Chi Life Ministries is all about to the best of our ability in a short sitting. So why don't we just get right into it? Again, so glad you're here. We opened with a prayer, with blessings, and we send those out to you. This is all about all of us blessing each other. And that's what this whole ministry is about, and how we are going about doing that in our own community. And we know it's happening all over the world as well, but we are here, and that's what we're doing. So why don't we get right into who are we? Or where should we start, Daniel?
I don't know. Well, it all starts, both of us are in the food ministries, food justice. You've been doing CSA and markets for a while now. I've been trying to get gardens in urban Chattanooga for several years. So it just kind of all went from being something we do to something that hits us on a deeper level. And so we've thought for quite a while, talked about taking the next step with taking it beyond just being organizations that we have, but further defining what that looks like to us.
And it kind of started, not like it just started with farms.org. That's our food ministry. That's where you go to order foods from us. But, Chi Farms, well, it's the avenue for which we can reach out and feed people by patrons simply feeding themselves. So that's what we do now, is we deliver that food, and that ministry has really become, and I always say this, is like I am so blessed on Wednesdays and Thursdays when I get to go minister and take food to whoever is our patron or whoever's being gifted food that week, or I just get to go be in front of that person, and sometimes some of the best conversations you could imagine, and you knew you were there to be there, and people start wanting to see you because we're not creating an Amazon here. We're creating quite the opposite. We're creating relationships again. Yeah. And that's our ministry. And each person that comes to your door is there in love to minister whatever comes through the both of you. Yeah. To be there to hear. And so I think that's what's so important about the ministry we are building, and again, just getting the food out to people. And there's so many avenues to do that we are working on establishing, and again, just really being that delivery, that way of delivery, and supporting people literally on different dimensions and levels of where we can take things. So feeling real blessed. Is that who we are?
But I think so in a lot of ways. You, me, several other people that aren't here right now have been intentionally coming together for
Years.
for years now,
Years, yeah.
and dreaming of ways to work together and do more than just feed ourselves, but do more than pay the bills, do more than just live within the current existence, but to create a different way of living, to live free within the context of the prison that we're forced to live within at some level.
There we're watching self-destruct out there around us, right?
And so how do we change that? How do we change the narrative? How do we live in a way that reflects our values, reflects healthy relationships with ourselves, with the people around us, with all, the whole community of life, with the earth, with everything that would be a part of our lives. We have to come at it with respect and always acting through our values, and we don't have that in this world, so we have to create that for ourselves, and that's what we've been doing for years. But we've talked about the idea of creating a church to do this through, and there's a lot of resistance to that idea because people don't like that word. It's triggery for a lot of people, but we said fuck it, and we're just going to do it. So that's what we do.
We're just going to do it, and it will serve us well. For all legal reasons involved, and speaking with our attorneys, we are going the route of a church, and it is what we do. We minister. We have all these different ministries, but the ministries look a little different than the ministries you're used to. Our food ministry. It's been done many, many times before. This is not new stuff we're doing.
Yeah.
We're just, I think, cohesing together as a larger community, and that really is starting to understand we need to build something that can support when there's nothing, if there is nothing on the shelf in the city or town you live in. It's happening in other places. What makes you think it might not happen here? So we have to at least be aware and not do any of this out of fear, but rather build, as this ground swelling occurs, just build this energy and all these connections to people that grow green beans, to people that have milk and cows, and we just run it through here, and then we deliver the foods out to everybody that wants them, and the foods that are left over all go out to people in need. So this again.
And speaking of those people in need, that's a big reason why we're here as well. That's what I work with. Is recognizing the fact that some of us have the ability to go to those grocery stores that still have food on their shelves, and not all of us have that ability. I don't always have that ability, but I don't always have that ability on purpose. I put myself in that position to
learn what you need to learn.
And even saying that feels tainted to a degree because I don't even deserve that. I'm privileged, man. I can always call my parents and go home. I'd have to eat a lot of shit, but I could always call my parents and go home. But there's a reason why we're doing what we're doing is because we have privilege. We have the ability to go out and do a lot of things. We can start our own food distribution networks, from our bootstraps.
Yeah.
And so now what do? We take that and bless others.
Absolutely.
With that. And give back.
Yeah, and because
consistently.
What we're doing is creating a space to hold where I call it a place to come home to.
Yeah, absolutely.
In food, when we're dealing with food, you are dealing with something that changes you, because when you're even if you're delivering food, all of a sudden you're just giving food to people and you're putting it on their doorsteps with love, and you're really you're infusing their food with that love that's coming from all of us that are growing things or having animals or making things and baking or whatever this is growing into. it's all of us. It's just it's people just like you and me, and we all get that we all need a you know
We need each other.
we need each
We
other.
need each other.
Yeah, because
We
I
need
can
each
come to
other.
you and I can say, hey, you might hear about cheese somewhere, or we might meet each other or something, and you can say, hey, do you need green beans this week? I'm like, heck yeah, we need green beans this week. That'll be one of our vegetables this week, and we know it came from a local garden. And it's as clean as you're probably going to get it. And just to be honest,
Yeah,
that's
no,
about the truth
absolutely.
of it, right?
Absolutely. Better than what you would get in a grocery store.
Better than what you get in the
In
grocery
any
store, there's no
grocery
doubt.
store.
And any grocery store. And you're supporting a local economy by becoming a patron of our food ministry for like $32 is what it costs for like a full CSA box, which is what we started with
Mhm.
5 years ago when I started it. But now and all of the we have like 5 boxes now: meats, vegetables, different things, vegan, everything. And then I got lost.
Okay.
Are we the vegan? I was talking
Foods in your
about.
box.
I can't believe I just lost that.
What kind of food do you have in your box, babe?
Well, all the vegetables. So, jeez, dang it. We're having a good old time here tonight, just trying to keep up with all the laughter. But yeah, I mean, we started off with like one box, and that had that up until pandemic started, and then I went to several. Now in October, we've gone to several different kinds of boxes. All of those are worth what we call 20 barter points. 20 barter points get you free delivery. All the boxes are already 20 points. The only thing we changed was like the half box. You can do like half a box, and then you can add eggs, milk straight from the cow, blah 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 blah, whatever you want to add, butter, breads, whatever we happen to have that you want. And it's real easy to get those barter points. So basically, what we've tried to do is make it so you don't ever have to pay a delivery fee. We're not trying to make this. We're not trying to. We're trying to provide jobs and give people a great means of living. And what we're finding is just the way this is organically manifesting itself. It's happening,
You're getting to bless people.
we're getting to bless people with just taking them food, talking to them through the glass door. All the things it's really a beautiful, beautiful ministry. And when I get to do it every Wednesday and Thursday, I am grateful for what I get to do.
Well, and it's interesting how it kind of like dovetails into what seems like is like, everything is falling apart, but at the same time, you're getting to have these intimate one-on-one connections with people and blessing them all at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
It might look different for now,
Right.
but at the same time, you're providing them a service. They don't have to go out into the grocery stores.
And they don't. And it's just, let's be wise. We wish we all had free energy from the sun right now, but we don't all have that yet. A lot of us don't have that. Most of us don't have that. Same thing with food. If the box stores don't get shipments, you don't get food. We build a network like this, you're going to have food as long as we have gas or horse and buggy or something to get to you.
I want a horse and buggy, babe.
Well, I want one too, and I really want to learn to plow with
Shit, you can learn
jackasses
to
or
plow.
whatever. No, we're talking about you, man. No. Anyway, we
so
love each other.
what we were talking about, who we are, what we are.
Right.
So why are we doing this?
I'll start there. Why? Because I'm here to serve God. I'm here to listen to that still small voice that was so reluctant to appear for so many years. It was always my ego that won out, or my will was done rather than thy will be done. And I think once we learn to just integrate into the energy of God, that source of life within us, that Christ consciousness that Jesus talked about, and
whatever that looks like to you.
whatever that looks like to you. You got to find in theology school, they taught us everybody's experience is different. It's not the same as anybody else's in the whole wide world.
It can't be.
It can't be. Your relationship has to be yours with God. So I think what we all are, we're waking up to that awareness and that light within us, and we're learning to love ourselves through all of our faults, through all of everything that's affected us, that had to get us to this place where we're awakening into a higher consciousness, a higher frequency.
I mean, and those are words we can use. Absolutely.
I know the words are.
It's.
And it's not higher; it's expanded frequency.
Well, like we were talking about earlier, nested circles. You know, we're opening up into a broader understanding of our relationship. You know, with each other, the environment around us. We can't continue to live this way. Like, no matter what we want to say about it, and that doesn't even mean like voting a certain way. You know, it's got to be like we were talking about. Well, we always have been talking about. It's like doing the work. You gotta. It's more than just like involving ourselves.
Reading a phrase,
reading
a phrase and thinking you got it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how it happens sometimes.
Yeah, it's more than just meditating. It's the walk. You know, you got to do the work. You got to figure out where your bullshit is.
Yeah, and that's the work. Figure out where that stuff is that does not serve you, and make yourself subconscious and aware of it. Heal it as quickly as you can,
and put it in action. You put it in action every day. You got to work on that shit every day. You got to do it every day, and you got to get out in the street, in the middle there with people, like with the sinners, quote unquote.
Who Jesus hang with.
Yeah, and just be willing to really just eat, sleep, and breathe it all the time. And because we've been told that we're supposed to be cogs in a machine, but the reality is that we're supposed to be animals that live in a healthy relationship with the world around us, and we don't know how to do that, and we have to go inside of ourselves, clear the colonized mentality that we have out as much as we possibly can, and learn to live with each other in a new way. And that looks like sharing in a different way. That looks like creating, no longer doing business, but walking a sacred path. And it looks like business to the world sometimes, but the reality is that it's, what was the word that I said the other day? A holy sacrament. You know, like what you do is the most sacred thing that you could be doing. That's right. For your life.
Whatever it is you do, you do is the most holy, sacred thing.
And it's not working at a store. And I promise you.
And it's being totally authentic. And the journey is about you becoming totally authentic with yourself. Mm-hmm. And Lord knows there's a lot of shit you got to clear out on this journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And okay, now here's
and you're never done.
But you're never done. Here's the beautiful part, though. Maybe we've all gone through this or we're there, but it doesn't have to be painful anymore. So I learned this lesson. It's probably going on 2 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now. I can't remember. But I remember when it happened, I had this realization that it doesn't have to be painful anymore. You know, what does that mean? It doesn't have to be painful anymore. It means, you remember those early dark nights of the soul that you had? They were horrid, but it's like everyone after it got worse for me. Harder.
Yeah, well, just more intense because you're more
aware of it, right? Yeah. But then what you find is you'll get to a place where if you just say, I don't have to experience it that way anymore. I can consciously say,
I mean, it'll still hurt.
It'll still hurt, but I can find joy and peace in it, and whatever's going to come. But I can find the joy and the peace, and then not being wound up by it, so that it's harmful. Anyway, you go.
No, I mean, I think that's what we've been talking about is that taking our lives back, and
authenticity, man.
Finding our role, and then doing the work.
And hasn't that been a fun one, guys? I mean, are you finding your roles?
Yeah.
It seems like it's happening for a lot of people.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not working at a store. Now, I'm not saying that it can't be fulfilling and you can't have a great business, but there's a different way of doing it. There really is. Capitalism is, it's not the root of the problem, but it sure is pretty crappy. And there's other ways. I mean, we're going to play with it because we have to. It's one of the things out there that we get to play with.
You can either close your eyes and say, "Oh, nothing around me is happening,"
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you can just take
We can
it
go
off
with
and
it.
observe, and we can deal with it.
But
And
let's
that's what we're
find-
doing. We're finding a way to deal with what
Well, we
I don't want
decided
to
to
speak it in, but store shelves have been empty in other places. We are working to make sure that people don't go hungry.
and it doesn't have to happen because there's so
It doesn't
much
have to
food.
happen,
There's
yeah.
so much food. It's like
Yeah.
there's so much food around us. Now, we don't grow enough of it ourselves. That's one of my personal, goals for myself is to increase the amount of food that this area produces for itself in different ways, education and volunteer work, all that kind of shit. But hence the role that I have. And I've had to. It's taken me years to get to that point to figure these.
And I
things
tell you,
out.
I couldn't, as ordained ministers of Life Ministries, man, I couldn't be more honored to work with somebody like Daniel that is as wise and intelligent and I've always listened to him. Sometimes we might have had an argument.
I don't know if that's a good thing,
But I had
but
an argument or two in the early days. That was actually that was a pretty long time ago since we had not an argument. To us, it looked like an argument because it was
it was a little
difference in
loud.
opinion, maybe. I don't know. Difference in perceiving our reality.
I don't like to make my bed the way he likes to make his bed. Let's just put it that way.
Well, Lord, we go into the stories of, I've been working. My life personally, my spiritual life, has been about. Okay, I'm just going to tell it real quick. When I was probably 14 or so, Jesus appeared on the left-hand side of my bed, and I was sleeping, and I was probably about 14. And then that same year, maybe 6 months later or something else, he appeared on the right-hand side of my bed. So I don't remember what was thought or said or anything like that. I just remember him being there. And so I knew he, as I grew, I always remembered it. So, for me, I have a very close connection with Jesus. And, because I've developed this is my theory thing. This is what I'm going to stick with right now because it
works for you.
It makes more sense than anything else.
How's it working?
But I'll share, and you don't have to agree with me. I'm just telling you, this is kind of how I see it. I think God consciousness, this world, this planet has been terraformed many, many times through many, many civilizations that we do not know anything about hardly, and through all those times, it seems there was always a story of the virgin birth and of Jesus, and sorry, I stretch my back, and that's that story. And so why has that story been told so many times? My humble belief in this right now is that I believe every time a civilization is created, it gets to the place where we are now, but it's just kind of fallen time after time after time. And every time society gets to a place where it wants to call in God, because I've talked about this before, we don't do a real good job of really interpreting God without some kind of a way to look at it and see it, a man-made filter. So I believe we as humanity probably manifest Jesus back time and time and time again through all of these different civilizations. And biblically, what does that mean? But you have to study so many other belief systems to begin to understand what I'm talking about. There's cycles.
I don't understand.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's crazy. But yeah, but there's a lot more to the story, and you have to really dig in and do the studying to understand a lot of the story. Mm-hmm. You have to really immerse yourself in godly things. I think.
And Eric von Daniken He's the ancient aliens guy.
All right. She just got to dig in there. But you know, I am so glad that I've had teachers along the way, and we're not using any names here, so that we don't have to get permissions. So at least for this video, but you know, I've had friends have taught me beautiful, beautiful lessons and been beautiful, beautiful mentors for me. And did I always handle the situations in my highest form or possibility? No, I didn't. You know, sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I was it was very ugly, probably. But I have to laugh at it now because I'm trying not to be that. I see it for what it is.
Again, we go back to the work, and that's what this is all about.
That's what this is. Then you can come clean with yourself.
And you just gotta pick yourself up and try and do it again. And again, it's that living your values. And so, like we were talking about why we're doing this. I think that kind of wrapping it back into the answering that why is, you know, you and I have talked about intentional communities, you know, community organizing in general, you know, the different kinds of it that we've both been involved in. You know, you've been a pastor of a Unity church, and while you love the organization, you are no longer involved in that.
Well, I think, you know, what, as we had, if we're going to live together more basically and friendly and lovingly, we have to learn a different way to do it.
Yeah.
And one of the different ways that's important in community that I've just found seems to be what we are all drifting to. You know, I'm not putting anybody in a box. Just as what I see around me is these expanding communities. I'm losing my thought.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, we're talking about, you said living in a different way, and what we see in other organizations, be that, you know, businesses, nonprofits, you know, established church organizations, that we may even have things that we agree with them, you know, but they still participate in a way that, oddly enough, we would see as worldly, even though they may not see that themselves. But it's because they still participate in capitalism. It's because they still participate in these things.
100%.
Well, it's not even fully. It's like that's the right way to live, rather than, hey, we need to figure a way out of this, so let's use it as a way to surf this wave until the Titanic is done crashing and we can get on our way. Because as of right now, like, you know, it's what's happening. So we're cool. Like we're going to have to just do with what we have available to us. And capitalism is a tool. Can we use it? Take that energy and ground it. Good with it. And ground it. Put it in the ground. Yeah. Make food with it.
Yeah, that's right.
Give that food to each other. Yeah. Create economies based off of this food that are resilient and that cannot be destroyed by capitalism failing, because it's failing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so that's what we're all about. And as new, you know,
and the church gives us the ability to do that in a way that lines up spiritually with what we're doing. We don't have to exist within the same structures that the world creates for us.
Well, and I'm going to go ahead and say this here, because people do some strange things out there in the world sometimes.
Yes, we do.
But we are not a cult. Nobody's ever called us one. I'm just, from the very first day, I'm just going to get that out there, because do you know what a cult is? A cult follows someone. We don't do that. We are each autonomous souls here to do our work, and in that we have these bodies, and in that we need to be sustainable ourselves. So all of our ministers are simply ministers within in a concentric circle, and we're all just collaborating together. Nobody gives up their power for anybody else.
Yeah.
We are fully empowered to be who we came here to be, to run your pottery shop, to bake your breads, to grow your vegetables. All those things that make up a community.
Well, and the beautiful part about it, Bates, is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. No, interestingly enough,
we do not.
We have ancestors. We have people that live in communities around us right now that have lived a life that is outside the context of this system, and we can tap into that knowledge and that wisdom, and we do that actually, and that's where we've gotten a lot of where we're at is like we were talking about before. You were with teachers, I've gone and studied with people. I've held myself accountable to certain people within the communities around us, so we can learn that, hey, people have been about this getting free business for a long time.
The Beatles were great at it, man.
Well, the Beatles.
The Beatles were awesome.
Yes, they were the ones that help us get us free.
You can help get us free.
Oh, yes, the Beatles. So, anyways, but no, and we can. I mean, like we don't have to recreate. How do we organize ourselves in a healthy way that allows all of our voices to be heard?
Dynamic governance. That's
well,
where I
and
was
that's
going.
the thing. There's,
Exactly.
Well, and yes, and there's different names for it, and different cultures have come up with different things. Like we've got restorative justice circles, we've got talking circles. There's all different kinds of words for the things that we've spent a lot of years doing the work on.
Trying to learn how to do it.
To learn these things so that we can organize ourselves in a holy way, in a way that has been passed down to us from generation to generation, that the only thing that's actually not working here is the system that's around us. And so how do we take that? It's like we were talking about earlier. It's like going back home, and how do we learn that? How do we do that work? And part of that is, that's why we call this is a sacred thing. It's not just delivering food and taking money for that food.
That's right.
It's not just paying the bills, and because that doesn't feel good anymore.
No.
I mean,
what feels good is taking the food to people. That's what feels really good. And then when you're done, there's the more patrons we have per week, the more we get to give away free food. And so the more free food, that's really where. Don't get me wrong, the relationships you build with as a delivery person or a person that's got skin in the game with Chief Arms, the relationships that we can build together are what we're looking for.
Accountability and skin in the game.
Accountability for what you're doing, what we're doing. Transparency in absolute everything we do, which we have the ability to do that and make really wise decisions.
And it's so important to us that we felt the need to call it a church. To make it a church, because it's that important to us.
We have. I've been in conflict about that for a number of years. I think we're in conflict.
I have not been in conflict about it for a number of years. I have been throwing that out for everybody for years, and nobody has picked up on it until certain few people, and they went off and did their own thing, and nobody else has wanted to do it with me until we've gotten to this point here now.
And when we talk to people about it and we explain our ministries, they realize this is not the same old thing at my church.
No, it's not.
This isn't that kind of church. This is the kind of church where
church in action.
It's a church in action where those of us that are awakening consciously are hearing that Christ consciousness, and we're all hearing the same thing, or whatever you call it. Yeah, absolutely, whatever you call it. But we're hearing that same thing. The 100th monkey kind of thing, it's just starting to happen everywhere, and we all know, we're all saying the same thing you and I are talking about right here, about
we all want to live a healthy life,
we can, we don't have to wait for a collapse to happen. We don't need to wait for that to happen. Let's begin the work now.
Well, it is happening already.
And it already
is happening for a very long time. It's just now at the point where you can't miss it. And it's I don't know. I have my dream, that thing that they tell you to always intend for the highest good, whatever you want to call that. My dream, my imagination is that, there is a healthy way out of this. There's a beautiful way out of this.
Well, and whatever your faith in that higher
we have to create it though, Bates.
And we have to have the faith too that we can create.
Well, we are creating it. That's what we're doing. That's the why. The why we're doing a church is because it's the avenue that feels the most authentic, that allows us to openly state this is sacred work.
Absolutely. This is sacred work.
Yeah. You know,
This is sacred work.
and so and to exist within the context of the system, but not as a part of the system, you know,
right,
in the world, but not of the world.
Yep.
And, you know, there's all kinds of different terms. Like a lot of the people that have shown up to our potlucks and that we're in collaboration with come from anarchist mind frames and from that school of thought. And like we're saying the same thing, like you said.
It's so
we're saying the same thing.
You speak to, as a minister, part of my job is to listen. It's a real important part. But you got to listen. When you listen to these people and this party and those people and that religion, and
we're all talking about the same.
It's kind of like I'm hearing the same thing from all these people, yet we're so divided.
Because we can't hear each other.
Because we can't hear each other.
Because we've got a system that puts a filter over everything that we do, and we sit here and we project our bullshit onto everybody.
And truly,
painful.
And you have to break away from that TV. And how do you know whether you want to watch this video or not? You know, all we're doing is giving you what
TV.
I think. Sure. You're funny. This is a fun night. I'm really happy we're doing this, and we've been about 20 minutes, so I don't want to go over too long for you. But
no, Bates, we've been about almost 40 minutes.
We've been about 40 minutes.
Yes,
My, how time flies.
36 minutes and 27 seconds. So you just.
But we do have a ministry. We have, we're going to be loketed right down behind
tax deduction season is ending.
Tax deduction season. So. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of people to employ. We have a lot of dreams that people have to inspire them. And we all of us that are coming together at these potlucks, we are inspiring each other.
Yeah.
And that's when this thing called flow begins to happen.
But you got to keep the pattern up. That's the thing we learn. You've got to come together every week, once a week. And you get that repetition, you start creating a wave. And then once you get that wave going, you got to learn to ride that energy. You do. And you got to learn how to make decisions together.
And we're already doing it, guys. We are already doing it. And some of us went through this, a very similar thing like this about 5 to 6 years ago. And I'm going to tell you 50 to 150 people probably had this experience at one point or another, right here in Chattanooga, right? And
it happens all the time. Communities come together and they come have
together
their fun.
And they have it looks like magic. And, it's like, but that last one, it was an amazing process. We'll talk about it some other time, but an amazing process. And it transformed people I'm talking to now 5 years later said, I'm going to put it in my words. My words are, it gave me a frame of reference for which I wanted to go. It showed me what was possible when people get around each other and inspire each other rather than compete with each other.
Yeah.
Because we've never been taught that. Now we're learning, it's very possible. It's not going to look the same as it did there. It's
but how do we harness that
way.
And move with intention?
Absolutely.
And that's where we're at now, is taking that, learning how to refine those lessons that we learned, doing the work every day, and refine those lessons to what is it Abraham Hicks says, fine-tuning. You're fine-tuning
even your meditation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're fine-tuning your meditation. Your time in silence is so valuable because that's when you and God's source commune. In the absolute silence of the mind. That's the reason we talk meditation the way we talk. What we believe in that space of getting to a place where you are hearing that still small voice when you come out of meditation.
Yeah.
You just know what you're going to do next. Maybe it might take a day or whatever. Comes pretty quick nowadays for a lot of people because remember, we are continuing to expand in a vibrational frequency every day now.
Like technology is getting more complex. It's getting faster. The world is getting crazier. The things are happening more and more and more
and we have to handle this energy on a balanced level and not be here or here, guys.
Yeah.
We have to balance all this stuff, and that's what we're all working to do.
And that's why staying focused,
while it's expanding.
Yeah, and being your authentic self.
It's the only way to get
staying
there.
in that,
It's the
and
only way to
staying,
get there.
and the only way that we will ever get through this is together and coming together and just doing what we would normally do, but doing it in a different way. So the most basic thing that we can do, Bates, together is to feed each other.
That's it.
So
It's the basic thing.
yeah,
Feed the people.
yeah. So
Who said
how do
that?
we feed each other? Well, I think a lot of people said that.
A lot of people said it. Feed the
But
people.
no, we have to feed each other and learn how to feed each other in such a way to where we're all taken care of no matter what, and that there's so much abundance that we can just give it away to everyone. My goal is to turn Chattanooga into a city that can feed itself, and it cannot do that right now. Not even considering the farmland around it. It does not feed itself. It ships a lot of it out of here. It doesn't even use a lot of the land that it has. That's a whole other story too. But that's what we're here for, though, is to try and figure out ways to do that. And it's together, and it has to be so important that it is the most important thing in your life to get free in whatever way that looks to you. And food is where we're focusing on to start with. But there's other ministries coming along.
The ministries are coming left and right now, and
because we all got to get free, and we all got different
and you have
ways
to do
of
what
doing
it is
that.
you do, and that is your ministry.
Yeah.
So no one controls you any longer.
Your life is yours to live a sacred path.
But we understand you got to find it, just like we have had to find it. And am I finally there?
So come to
I sure hope
potluck.
so. It'd be nice not to have to go through that again, but.
Come to potluck.
Come to potlucks and
let's
let's talk
figure it out
and watch beautiful things happen in your life. Yeah,
because that's our church.
Observe it. That's our church.
Yeah, that's our
we
church.
come together, and from Chief Arms, people take pictures. They bring their foods they created from the love that we put into giving them, right? As vendors, they then give it back in prepared meals, and we get to. Gosh, that's a blessing if I ever heard of one.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, and that's the goal: is to eat our own food that's being grown right around us here in Chattanooga, and we're getting closer to that, but it's still, we still have to go out of the area.
I mean, we got to go in the wintertime. It's cold.
Yeah,
and not enough food here.
Not unless you've got a lot of money to pay for very expensive food, which totally fine.
Well, and this is where we really have to look at going. We have all these swimming pools that people cover up. People don't cover up your swimming pools. You create an underground greenhouse there, and you can grow fruit trees right here in the cold in the winter. So do wise things with your land. With everything you do right now.
You could literally turn your yard into a garden. I can help you do that. Let me know if you want to do that, please, because I have people that will do that for you for free.
We start working with Daniel, and I started our little city garden in Red Bank for the Chi Cottage. Which is my parsonage, and we're also, I'm just going to leave it right there right now, but we'll be doing potlucks and stuff there.
Yeah.
At that location.
Yeah.
So, and it's right behind Food City. It's not ready yet. We're getting some, we're just getting it cleaned up, and I'm getting moved in. So basically that's about it. It should be in there in a couple of weeks or so.
Yeah.
And that is, it's going to be a place you just need to visit. We'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Because you're going to enjoy what you experience. With these folks and these creative types and all
so
kinds of
in the spirit of the theme that we created with the who, what, where, why, and when, and we're leading into that because you're talking about the house now.
Yeah.
When, like, we kind of talked about, doing not a traditional church service or anything like that.
We've talked about doing a coming together service of some kind.
I don't know what we want to call it, but yeah.
But we're gonna do it live, and we're gonna wear masks, and we're gonna take all precautions, and we got a nice yard we can borrow and use our own, and
and there's different options. We haven't fully figured it out yet.
We don't know
how many people or any of that stuff.
But if you're interested in us doing it, please give us a thumbs
up.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. What would you like to see?
Yeah.
Share that with us, and we'll see how we might and
Yeah, like
snap
what does
together.
that look like? I'm cool with Zoom to a certain degree, but I also understand that is there a way that we can see whether or not we're all clean, and this sounds terrible, but whether we're all clean and not sick and can be around each other.
There
You
is.
know,
There
what I mean?
is.
There's tests.
Yeah, we
that's
could
what I'm
use
saying,
Zoom.
like,
I mean, we could definitely do some of that. I thought about that too.
I don't know.
agree.
Like it's. I don't know where we're at right now because the numbers are getting bigger right now, and I don't
Right.
know where I'm at when it comes to hanging out in public spaces
Oh,
just
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
And Christmas is coming, and all kinds of craziness is about to
Yeah.
happen. So that being said,
Wear your mask, man.
well, no, I mean so here's the thing. Like for me, I'm gonna talk about it for a second. Like I don't give a shit about the science. I give a shit about holding myself accountable to the community of life around me. And my brothers and sisters are dying. And that's what I give a shit about. And it's real. That is real, whether or not we believe the science here, what, where, when. There are people that are dying from this. If me wearing a mask helps, whatever. I will wear a mask. It's a fucking mask. That's all it is.
That's the way I see it too. It's just
Because I want to hold myself accountable to the people around me. That's why. That's the living our values,
And
we're living that value of accountability.
And that is what we're doing, is
Yeah.
to reinforce what he's saying. That is what we're here to do through this ministry,
with
through
food,
you,
with everything
with
that we're doing.
Everything we do needs to be
It
there.
is coming through our values, one of which is accountability.
Yep.
And that's where, this is, like we said, we had to make it a church. Because that's just what it is. We can use legal words and business words and all that stuff because to me that's jargon, that's colloquialisms, it's just street words to me, because this is sacred work is what we're doing. We can use whatever words we want to for what it is that we're doing, but the reality is that we have to come back to this place where our life is sacred. Absolutely. Everything that we do is sacred, regardless of what the world tells you.
Because we don't want to live there anymore. We don't want to live in that anymore. And if you're just watching this for the first time and you're going, what are they talking about? Don't feel bad. We've all been in exactly the same places as anyone that's watching this place. Mm-hmm. All these experiences, we wouldn't be talking about it if we hadn't been there. Mm-hmm. And who knows what's ahead on our journey of learning and growing this 5D reality, this 5D thing, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, that's a way of looking at it.
And this is kind of in my mind. I see it as like, here's 5D world, here's 3D world, and they were overlaid, right? And now I saw a graphic of it once. It was perfect. It was like these two Earths pulling themselves apart from each other. This being 5D, this being 3D. So what does that really look like through our eyes? Well, because we're changing as well.
So it's interesting that you put it that way. So like I hear a lot of the words that you're saying.
Right.
They're for some people would be new agey silly words.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Of course. But I think more people are understanding that something's happening.
Let's look at it from a math or science perspective. So do you know what a toroid is?
No.
Okay, so you know the donut of energy thing that you always see with, like when you see energy around people, they show the donut looking energy field.
Yes.
Toroidal energy is what that's called. And what happens is in any form of energy that we see waves and emanations coming out of that energy. And it's somewhat like a donut shape around it. It happens around the earth, it happens around atoms. Just the way it works, right?
Right.
So what that looks like, though, is that energy is coming together and pulling itself apart. And coming together and pulling itself apart. Right. And coming together and pulling itself apart. And that's like the cycles that you were saying about civilization, having, they fall apart and come together, and fall apart and come together. And it's like the energy that we're seeing right now is that, like you said, you've got this one way of living and this other way of living, and they're pulling themselves apart from each other. And it's not left or right. It's what is holding itself accountable to life and what is seeking power and moving out of fear.
Right.
And it's those things that are pulling themselves apart and coming back together, and pulling themselves apart and coming back together. And it's, what is the verse? Choose ye this day who you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
And you know, we get into this kind of stuff, and I'm happy to say, and remember, and say it.
It's life. We're here for life.
Serve no man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Serve no man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were told, don't do that. You've got to,
But we do.
but we do, and when we do that, we're following a false god.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not true. You know, the truth is within you, as we were directed to do. So I just keep offering that to people. Go inside you. You know, find I call it the Jesus Christ in my eyes. Go look in a mirror and see the love that you are, that Christ within you. That's the eyes of that Jesus came here to give us an example, as an example of someone came here to serve us.
Yeah, and,
you know what? I'm sure if you looked in Buddha's eyes, it'd be that way too. But Jesus taught us that, so that's just where I go. I stick there. It's easier.
On a practical level, I always like to put that the same thing that you're saying.
Right.
I like to say is follow what feels healthy.
Absolutely.
Now, to be able to do that, though, one has to know what healthy feels like. The distinction between healthy and poison. Because sometimes poison tastes real good.
Well, and
tastes like Coca-Cola.
And there's tons of patterns that are created in that poison.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's nothing but patterns,
again,
and you have to escape the patterns.
We come back to this is where the work is, and this is in order to be able to hear that voice that says, "This feels healthy. This thought feels healthy. This action feels healthy. This repeated behavior that I keep doing to myself."
Van Sant years ago was one of the first really cool spiritual books I read.
Yeah.
But Alanya Van Sant, and I was probably on my first awakening journey to try to really wake up. That portion of my life would have been in the late 80s, I guess. No, that was the late 90s. I had a late start, y'all.
That book you were just talking about. Spiritual speaker from the 90s. Ileana Savadabdabda. I don't remember the name you just said. Ileana.
So many stories. Sometimes I get lost in them, man. Well, y'all, there I go again. Sorry about that. Stop. But anyway, yeah. Where are we going now?
I don't know. We were talking about the win. We were talking about different kinds of things. We were talking about doing the work just a minute ago. That's what I was talking about. I know what you're talking about. Well, this seems
like a good time to maybe say goodnight.
Yeah.
It's been really fun hanging with y'all. We'd like to do it again sometime,
it's
really.
Pastor Bates.
It's Pastor Bates. That sounds really funny, we know. He said that a while ago, but oh my God, it's like Pastor Bates. Anyway, from Pastor Bates and Pastor Daniel from Life Ministries, we hope you'll join us again and continue this journey with us. And if you can do anything to serve humanity in your own town or your own community, or you want to start up a Chief Farms there, you give us a call and we will help the best we can. We're trying to expand what we're doing as far as we can, so others that are expanding what they're doing can come this way, and maybe one day we can all meet up and have this amazing grid of people serving humanity, people serving the people, you know. And I think that would be my dream for a perfect world, is just like we're all in service to each other, and I believe that's possible.
Talk to Bates if you want food. Talk to me if you want to grow food.
At chieffarms.org. CHIFARMS.org. Go there and order. Usually order days are on Sunday. You get a reminder from me based on what you've told me you'd like a reminder. If you want a reminder every week, once a month, whatever, you'll get a reminder on Sunday, and that reminder will tell you, hey, it's shopping day. Please go to the site and make your orders this week. If we don't hear from you and you don't text us back or text me back and say, hey, skip me this week, you will get that standard CSA box on your doorstep on Wednesday or Thursday of that week. All you got to do is, if you're going to be out of town, you know, we don't do contracts and things like that. But if you're going to be out of town, we just look the courtesy to say, skip, please, I'm out of town, or whatever, you know, is going on. Just so we don't buy food for you, deliver it, and then you don't want it. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So and again,
but you need food, so sign up so that you can get it delivered to yourself every week if you want to. Yeah. You can get that with automatic pay too.
You can?
Yeah.
It does automatic pay on there?
I think so.
Well, somebody's going to have to show us how because we don't have to do that yet. We got some work to do on the website. Actually, it's a real pretty website, but we're having a hard time keeping up with it right now because
So if you like
structurally we're
websites,
growing,
yeah.
we're expanding, and we're looking for people to help us grow this whole concept.
Yeah.
And we are a ministry. If you want to, if you feel like if you've been spiritually fed, we're not a tithe. I do not consider us a tithing church. But if you want a gift for any ministries or anything at all, feel free to gift if you feel so called.
We can put the Cash App at the bottom of this video.
Oh yeah, we could do one of those, couldn't we?
Yeah.
But it'd be great. We've been in business again 5 years, and then this last year we started again in February for the food ministry.
But for clarification's sake, we are moving that from being a business to now being a ministry.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this video.
Yeah.
To let you know.
To let you know, we are a ministry, and we are a food ministry, and we are a loving ministry, and we are an accepting, and we are a non-judgmental ministry.
Yeah.
No judgment. We don't believe in it, and I got plenty of reasons for that. We go into all that kind of stuff. But the moment you have a judgment,
come as you are,
you start sliding down, and so don't judge people, inspire people.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as
Absolutely.
that. Don't judge them, inspire them, and then you'll have the best, amazing experience of people you've ever had in your life.
Yeah, totally inclusive. Y'all come.
Y'all come. Nice to meet you. We thank you. Thank you, Father Universe. So we are grateful. Say amen. Amen. Namaste, namaskar. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.